Before we step into the throne room, give this story a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who enjoys humans standing tall when the whole galaxy expects them to kneel. The throne room of the Imperium of Val was not built for peace. It was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds formed near the black crystal arches. Its walls were carved from the bones of dead moons. Long banners hung from golden hooks, each one showing a world that had bowed, burned, or vanished under the will of Emperor Koresh Val. The floor was a single sheet of dark glass, polished until every guest could see their own fear reflected below their feet. At the far end of the chamber stood the obsidian throne. It was not beautiful. It was too sharp, too tall, too cold. It looked less like a chair and more like a weapon waiting for a body to sit on it. And on that throne sat Koresh. He had ruled 900 systems for nearly 2 centuries. His people called him Eternal Flame. His enemies called him the Last Shadow. Most people called him nothing at all, because speaking his name in the wrong place could cost a person their tongue. Koresh was not alone. Around the throne stood the high houses of Val. Ministers in silver robes. Fleet lords with medals across their armored chests. Priests of the Star Wound, their faces hidden behind masks of bone. Representatives from conquered worlds, each wearing the thin smile of those who knew their lives were not fully their own. They had gathered because of Earth. That small blue world at the edge of the Orion Arm had become a problem. Not a military problem, at first. An insult. Humans had refused the imperial tribute. The demand had been simple. Give ships. Give minerals. Give soldiers. Give children to be raised in imperial academies. Kneel in public before the throne of Val. Accept protection. Accept order. Accept silence. Most worlds accepted. They might hate it, but they accepted. The Val Imperium was too large. Its fleets were too many. Its war priests could break cities from orbit while singing holy songs. Its tax ships could starve a planet without firing a shot. But Earth had sent back one message. No. Not a long speech. Not a threat. Just one word. No. The throne room had laughed when the message was read the first time. Then the Imperium sent a second message. Earth answered again. No. The second time, the room did not laugh as loudly. Then the Emperor sent a war fleet. 70 ships. 6 dread carriers. 4 planet breakers. Enough to turn a young species into a warning. The fleet entered human space with music playing across imperial channels. The admirals expected surrender within 1 planetary rotation. Instead, the fleet disappeared. Not defeated. Not delayed. Gone. No wreckage. No distress call. No debris cloud. No broken escape pods floating between stars. Only silence. And then, 6 days later, Earth sent another message. Your ships are safe. Your crews are alive. They are being treated well. Please stop sending weapons into our garden. That was the first time the Emperor's claws cut into the arms of the obsidian throne. The second fleet was larger. It also disappeared. The third fleet did not return either. By then, the court had stopped laughing. Now, the throne room was filled with anger, fear, and something worse. Confusion. Because every known rule of war had been broken. Young species did not capture imperial fleets. Small planets did not frighten old empires. Humans did not even have a recognized throne. They had no royal bloodline that mattered. No sacred war caste. No single ruler whose head could be placed on a spear to end the problem. They had councils, arguments, elections, alliances, private companies, angry farmers, loud students, and soldiers who wrote jokes on missile casings. To the Val, this was madness. To humans, it was Tuesday. Emperor Koresh lifted one long hand. The room went quiet at once. His voice moved through the chamber like cold smoke. Read the final human message. A minister stepped forward. His throat moved as he swallowed. In his hands, he held a thin crystal slate. The message had been received 1 hour earlier, carried through deep space by a human diplomatic beacon that had slipped past the Imperial listening nets like a ghost. The minister began to read. To Emperor Koresh Val, ruler of the Val Imperium. We have returned every surviving member of your first 3 fleets through neutral medical stations. We have not harmed them. We have not displayed them. We have not asked for ransom. A whisper moved through the court. The minister kept reading. We now request a peaceful meeting. We ask that you end all hostile movements toward human territory. We ask that you release the worlds taken during your last expansion. We ask that you accept an inspection of Imperial slave docks. We ask that you consider a future in which your empire survives by changing before it is forced to change. The minister's voice shook. Koresh leaned forward. Continue. The minister closed his eyes for a moment, then read the last line. We will send 1 representative ship to your capital. It will arrive unarmed. For 3 heartbeats, nobody moved. Then the throne room erupted. Fleet Lord Varen was the first to shout. Unarmed. They mock us. A priest hissed through his bone mask. They come to spy. A noble from House Thren struck the floor with his staff. They come to beg. Let them kneel outside the palace gates. Another minister whispered, what if they truly mean peace? The room turned toward him as if he had spat on the throne. The minister lowered his eyes. Koresh did not shout. He never needed to. Let the human ship come. The court froze. My emperor, Fleet Lord Varen said carefully, that may be unwise. Koresh's eyes slid toward him. Varen bent his head. Koresh stood. He was taller than most Val, wrapped in black armor and red ceremonial silk. Behind him, the throne's shadow stretched across the floor like a wound. They took my fleets, he said. They touched my banner. They made my admirals vanish and returned them with bandages and polite notes. His voice became softer. I want to see what kind of creature believes mercy is a weapon. No one answered. Koresh looked toward the ceiling, where the stars were visible beyond layers of shielded glass. Let their unarmed ship approach. Let their ambassador enter this room. Let every house witness what happens when a young species mistakes patience for weakness. The order spread across the palace, then across the capital world, then into orbit. The human ship arrived 2 days later. It was small. That surprised everyone. The Imperial Defense Network tracked it as it crossed the outer system. The ship was no bigger than a diplomatic courier. Smooth gray hull. No visible cannons. No missile pods. No fighter bays. No shielding spike strong enough to resist even a patrol frigate. Its transponder identified it as the HNS Lantern. Human Naval Ship Lantern. The name made several fleet officers laugh. A lantern. They brought a lamp to the heart of an empire. Orbital control surrounded the ship with gun platforms. The lantern did not turn away. Imperial interceptors locked weapons. The lantern did not raise shields. 1,000 defense satellites opened their targeting eyes. The lantern kept moving, calm and slow, sending only one message. Diplomatic envoy aboard. Requesting landing path. The Emperor allowed it. Not because he trusted humans. Because he wanted every camera in the capital recording their arrival. The landing platform was placed at the center of the palace spine, a long black bridge open to the stormy red sky. Thousands of soldiers stood on both sides, their armor shining like beetle shells. Above them floated recording drones. Beyond them, citizens watched from towers and balconies, silent and hungry for the sight of human fear. The lantern touched down without ceremony. No engines roaring. No dramatic steam. Just a quiet landing, almost gentle. A ramp opened. 3 humans walked out. The first was old. Not weak, but old in the way mountains were old. A woman with dark skin, silver hair, and a deep scar across one cheek. She wore a plain navy uniform with no crown, no cape, no jewels. Only a small patch on her shoulder showing Earth as a pale blue circle. The second was younger, a man with tired eyes and a medical bag slung over one shoulder. The third was a soldier. Tall, broad, wearing dark armor that looked simple compared to the polished armor of Val guards. No glowing blades. No holy markings. No trophies. His helmet was tucked under one arm. The old woman stepped onto the bridge and looked around. She did not kneel. The watching crowd noticed. The soldiers noticed. The recording drones noticed. In the throne room, Emperor Koresh watched the live feed and smiled. "Good," he said. "Let them enter standing. It will make the fall more useful." The humans were led through the palace. They passed halls lined with skulls of ancient enemies. They passed gardens where conquered kings had been forced to plant trees with their own hands. They passed windows overlooking the capital city, where the towers of Val pierced the sky like black knives. The old woman looked at everything. She did not look impressed. The young doctor looked sad. The soldier looked calm. That calm bothered the guards. It was not arrogance. Arrogance they understood. It was not stupidity. Stupidity had a smell. This was different. The human soldier walked as if he had already seen the worst thing the palace could show him, and the palace had failed to measure up. When the doors of the throne room opened, every voice inside died. The doors were made from the melted hulls of defeated flagships. They opened slowly, each movement grinding like distant thunder. The three humans entered. The old woman walked in front. The doctor stayed half a step behind her. The soldier came last. The chamber watched them cross the dark glass floor. Their reflections moved beneath them like ghosts. At the center of the room, the old woman stopped. Protocol demanded she kneel. She did not. Protocol demanded she lower her eyes. She did not. Protocol demanded she offer praise to the emperor. She did not. She simply placed one hand over her heart and bowed her head a little. Not submission. Respect. There is a difference, and everyone in the room felt it. Emperor Koresh studied her from the throne. "Name yourself." The old woman looked up. "Admiral Elena Marlowe, United Earth Defense Fleet. I speak today for the Human Assembly, the Lunar Council, the Martian Compact, the Jovian Workers' League, the Free Belt, and every ship flying under Earth protection." A noble laughed under his breath. "So many little rulers," Koresh said. "No wonder your species speaks in noise." Admiral Marlowe gave a small smile. "We do argue a lot." That earned a few confused looks. She continued, "But when someone threatens our home, we become very simple." Koresh leaned back. "And what are you today?" "Simple." "Very. Then speak simply." Marlowe nodded. "Stop attacking us. Release the worlds you enslaved. Open talks under neutral witness. Return your fleets to defensive borders. End the tribute system." The throne room stared. Then came laughter. Not from everyone. But enough. Fleet Lord Varen stepped forward. "You stand in the heart of the Imperium with 2 escorts and a little courier ship, and you bring demands?" Marlowe turned to him. "Yes." The laughter grew louder. Varen smiled, showing teeth. "Human, do you know how many weapons are aimed at your ship?" "Yes." "Do you know how many soldiers stand between you and the sky?" "Yes." "Do you know that one word from the Emperor can turn your bones into dust?" Marlowe looked back at Koresh. "Yes." The laughter faded. Because she had not said it like a challenge. She had said it like a person confirming the weather. Koresh lifted his hand again. Silence returned. He watched the admiral closely. "You captured 3 Imperial fleets." "How?" Marlowe said nothing. The Emperor's eyes sharpened. "Answer." "We disabled them." "How?" "Carefully." A priest hissed. Koresh did not move. "You think this is humor?" No, Marlowe said. I think this is restraint. The word settled over the room. Not loud. Not dramatic. But heavy. Koresh smiled. Restraint is what the weak call fear. Marlowe nodded once. Sometimes. And what do humans call it? A door. Koresh blinked. Marlowe's voice stayed steady. Fear can be a door. You can walk through it and find wisdom on the other side. Or you can lock yourself inside it and call the room a throne. The court went still. The insult was so clean that it took half the room a moment to understand it. Fleet Lord Varen reached for his blade. The human soldier shifted 1 foot. Just 1 foot. Every guard near him noticed. Not because the movement was threatening. Because it was ready. The doctor whispered, Admiral. Marlowe did not look away from the Emperor. Koresh's smile vanished. You come here to lecture me? I came here to stop a war. You came here because you are afraid of one. Yes. That answer surprised the chamber. Marlowe continued, war should frighten sane people. Koresh stood from the throne. The entire court lowered their heads. The humans did not. You admit fear in my throne room. Yes. And still you make demands. Yes. You are either brave or broken. Marlowe looked tired for the first time. Most brave people are a little broken. Before the next turn in this story, take a second to like the video, subscribe if you enjoy calm but powerful science fiction, and share it with a friend who likes stories where humanity does not need to shout to be dangerous. Koresh came down the steps of the throne. Each step rang through the chamber. He stopped only a few meters from Admiral Marlowe. Up close, he was terrifying. His skin had the deep red tone of old iron. His eyes were gold, vertical, and cold. His hands ended in claws sharp enough to carve stone. He wore no helmet because he wanted everyone to see his face when others broke before him. Marlowe looked up at him. She was much shorter. She seemed almost fragile. But she did not step back. Koresh spoke softly. I have burned worlds older than your son's first temple. I have broken species that had crossed the stars before humans learned to shape metal. I have sat on this throne while kings begged to trade their children for one more sunrise. His voice lowered. And you stand here with a doctor, a guard, and a courier ship, telling me to change. Marlowe answered, yes. Koresh moved faster than most eyes could follow. His clawed hand closed around her throat. The throne room gasped. The human soldier moved. So did every Imperial guard. Weapons rose. Blades sang out of scabbards. The doctor froze, hands lifted. Marlowe did not struggle. Koresh lifted her slightly from the floor. You are soft, he said. You are old. Your bones would break with one squeeze. Marlowe's voice came out rough. Yes. Where is your power now? She looked him in the eyes. Outside. Koresh paused. Then he laughed. The room laughed with him, because they were trained to follow his laughter even when they did not understand it. Your ship, he said. That little lantern. Marlowe's face was turning pale. The soldier said, Emperor. His voice was calm, but something in it made half the guards tighten their grip on their weapons. Koresh ignored him. Marlowe forced one word through the pressure on her throat. No. The Emperor's laughter stopped. At that exact moment, every light in the throne room flickered. The glass floor turned black. The ceiling stars vanished. For 1 second, the greatest palace in the Val Imperium lost power. Then the emergency systems came alive in red. Alarms began to sound across the capital. Not palace alarms. Orbital alarms. Fleet alarms. Deep defense alarms. The kind of alarms that had not been heard above Val Prime in more than 700 years. Koresh loosened his grip. Marlowe dropped to her knees, coughing. The doctor rushed to her side. The human soldier did not move toward her. He kept watching the Emperor. A fleet officer at the side of the room pressed a hand to the device in his ear. His face changed. Pride vanished first. Then color. Then control. "My Emperor," he whispered. Koresh turned slowly. "Speak." The officer could barely form the words. "There is a ship." Koresh's eyes narrowed. "The courier?" "No, my Emperor." The alarms grew louder. The officer looked toward the ceiling, though the stars were hidden. "There is a battleship." The throne room became very still. Koresh stared at him. "Where?" The officer swallowed. "Above us." The room did not understand. Above them was the palace shield. Above that was the capital city's orbital cage. Above that were 10,000 defense satellites, 12 moon fortresses, 9 fleet groups, and the Emperor's personal armada. Nothing could be above them. Nothing enemy could be above them. Koresh's voice became dangerous. "Explain." The officer tapped his wrist display. A holographic image appeared in the center of the throne room. It showed Val Prime from orbit. A beautiful red and black world, wrapped in defense grids and weapon rings. Then the image shifted. At first, there was only empty space above the North Pole. Then something happened. A shadow appeared. Not from darkness. From absence. Stars blinked out in a long shape. A shape too large for the mind to accept at once. The hidden vessel began to reveal itself. Layer by layer, the cloak fell away. First came the outline. Then the hull. Then the engines. Then the guns. The battleship was not near Val Prime. It was over Val Prime. Close enough that its lower armor plates filled the sky above half a continent. It was black, not polished like Imperial ships, but deep and dull like burned iron. Its hull was scarred. Its sides were lined with weapon ports, but they were closed. Its spine carried antenna towers and sensor masts like a forest of steel. Its bow was broad and blunt, almost ugly, built not to impress but to survive. On its side, in white letters large enough to be read from orbit, was its name. HNS Mercy. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Fleet Lord Varen whispered, "Impossible." The hologram expanded. The Mercy was larger than any Imperial dreadnought. Larger than the Palace District. Larger than the Emperor's flagship. It had been hiding inside the capital system. Inside the shields. Inside the orbital cage. Right above the throne. And no one had seen it. Koresh looked back at Marlowe. She was still on one knee, one hand on her throat. The doctor supported her. Her voice was hoarse when she spoke. "We came unarmed." She nodded toward the hologram. She did not. The throne room fell into silence. Not quiet. Silence. The kind that crushes the chest. The kind that makes powerful people hear their own heartbeat and hate the sound. Koresh looked at the battleship again. Its weapons were not firing. Its shields were not glowing. It just hung there. A mountain in the sky. A promise. The fleet officer spoke again, voice shaking. "My Emperor, we have attempted target lock. The defense grid cannot hold it." "Why?" "It is inside the minimum firing arc of the orbital lances." Varen snapped, "Then fire the moon fortresses." The officer looked at him with naked fear. "The ship's field is wrapping our targeting systems. They cannot separate its hull from the planet's upper atmosphere." A priest whispered, "A demon cloak." Marlowe coughed, then said, "No. Mathematics." Koresh turned to her. "You brought a warship into my sky." "Yes. You said your ship was unarmed." "The lantern is." His claws flexed. "This is treachery." Marlowe stood slowly with the doctor's help. "No. Treachery would have been firing before we knocked on the door." The soldier finally spoke. "The Mercy has had firing solutions on every Imperial command node for 11 hours. The words hit harder than any weapon. 11 hours. The throne room understood what that meant. The humans could have killed them before the meeting. They could have destroyed the palace. They could have cut the defense grid apart. They could have ended the emperor while he was still preparing his speech. Instead, they had waited. Koresh stared at the soldier. Your name? Major Daniel Reyes. You command that ship? No. Then why do you speak? Because if you touch the admiral again, I will stop you before the ship has to. Every guard in the room pointed a weapon at him. Reyes did not blink. The doctor whispered, Dan. Reyes kept his eyes on Koresh. The emperor smiled slowly. At first, it looked like amusement. Then the court realized it was rage. You stand in my throne room and threaten me. Reyes said, yes. Koresh took one step toward him. Reyes did not step back. The imperial guards waited for the emperor's gesture. Marlowe raised a hand. Major. Reyes stopped. Not because of Koresh. Because of her. That bothered the emperor more than the threat. Among the Val, fear moved armies. Power held courts together. Obedience came from pain. Yet this human soldier, surrounded by enemies, had stopped because an old woman said one word. Not screamed. Not ordered with punishment behind it. Just said it. Koresh noticed. So did everyone else. Marlowe turned fully toward the emperor. We did not come to humiliate you. The room almost laughed again, but the battleship above them made laughter feel unsafe. Marlowe continued, we came to show you the truth before too many people die. Koresh pointed toward the hologram. You call that truth? Yes. You hide a battleship over my world and call it peace. I call it proof. Proof of what? That we could have chosen fear, and we did not. Koresh's eyes burned. Marlowe stepped closer, though the doctor tried to stop her. You know what your admirals told us after we captured them? The emperor said nothing. They expected torture. Public execution. Humiliation. They expected us to parade them through our cities. They expected us to make their pain useful. Varen shouted, lies. Marlowe looked at him. We gave them medical care. We let them send letters. We fed them food that did not poison them. We asked them about command codes, yes, and some answered. Some did not. None were harmed for refusing. Varen's face twisted. You expect us to believe humans captured 3 fleets without breaking prisoners? No, Marlowe said. I expect you to ask yourself why your own soldiers cried when we returned them. The word struck the court in a different place. Not pride. Memory. Because the returned crews had been strange. They had not praised the emperor. They had not cursed the humans with proper hatred. Some had resigned. Some had gone silent. Some had told their families that the enemy had shown them more kindness than their own officers. Those stories had been suppressed. Now everyone remembered them. Koresh spoke through his teeth. Kindness is not victory. No, Marlowe said. But it can survive victory. Cruelty often cannot. A rumble passed through the throne room. Not from the people. From the sky. The Mercy adjusted position. Only slightly. The hologram showed the massive human battleship turning a few degrees. Its shadow moved across the northern continent. On the surface below, millions of Val citizens looked up and saw, for the first time in their lives, something above the Imperium that the Imperium had not allowed. A human ship. Silent. Patient. Unafraid. In the throne room, a young noble began to shake. A priest started praying under his breath. Fleet Lord Varen looked as if he wanted to order an attack but could not find a universe where that order ended well. Koresh returned to the throne slowly. He sat down. No one breathed. He rested his claws on the black arms of the throne. You believe this display changes the nature of power? Marlowe answered, no. It reveals it. Power is the ability to destroy. Part of it. The only part that matters. Marlowe shook her head. That is why you are losing. The room froze again. Koresha's gaze could have stripped paint from metal. Marlowe continued before anyone could interrupt. You have weapons. You have armies. You have fear. But every world you conquered is waiting for your hand to slip. Every slave dock you built is full of people who would rather risk death than keep living as property. Every officer under you obeys because punishment stands behind them. That is expensive power. She pointed upward, toward the unseen mercy. That ship exists because free people argued, worked, failed, tried again, and chose to build something together. It is crewed by humans from nations that fought each other once. It has engineers from Mars, navigators from Europa, pilots from the Belt, tactical officers from Earth, and one very stubborn cook from Titan who somehow keeps everyone alive. A few confused faces turned toward each other at the word cook. Marlowe's voice softened. That is power too. Not cleaner. Not perfect. But stronger than you think. Koresh said, and if I refuse? Marlowe nodded once, as if she had expected the question. Then the mercy will remain above your world. Not firing. Just watching. Your fleets will not be able to leave without being disabled. Your command network will be cut off from expansion sectors. The worlds you conquered will hear that your capital is under human shadow. Your empire will begin eating itself by morning. Varen barked, we will fight. Yes, Marlowe said. Some of you will. Many will die. Most will die for a system that does not care about them. The doctor spoke for the first time. And we will treat your wounded when it is over. The room turned to him. He seemed almost embarrassed by the attention. My name is Dr. Samir Vale, he said. I was on the medical station that received your third fleet survivors. I set a Val child's arm after your own evacuation crews left her behind. One of the priests stiffened. There were no children on those ships. Dr. Vale looked at him sadly. Yes, there were. You call them junior servants. We call them children. The priest said nothing. The doctor looked toward the emperor. I did not come here because I like warships. I came because I have seen what your empire does to people too small to be useful. And I have seen what humans become when they find children in cages. Major Reyes said quietly, you do not want that version of us. This was not a shout. It was worse. It sounded like truth. Before the court makes its next move, tap like, subscribe for more HFY stories, and share this video with someone who understands that the quietest warning is sometimes the one you should fear most. Emperor Koresh looked at the three humans. An old admiral with bruises forming on her throat. A doctor who looked angry in the sad way healers often do. A soldier who seemed carved from patience and consequence. Above them, a battleship named Mercy held the sky hostage without firing a shot. Koresh had faced assassins, rebels, rival emperors, machine cults, star beasts, and prophets with knives hidden in their sleeves. But he had never faced anything like this. Not because humans were invincible. Not because they were stronger, faster, or smarter than every species in the galaxy. No. The horror was simpler. Humans were willing to be kind until kindness failed. Then they were willing to become very exact. Koresh understood exactness. Cruelty wasted energy. Rage wasted armies. Pride wasted time. The Mercy had wasted nothing. It had slipped through the largest defense system in the known spiral, placed itself above the imperial capital, mapped every weapon, held every command center under silent aim, and then waited for diplomacy to have the first word. That was not weakness. That was control. Koresh looked to Fleet Lord Varen. Can we destroy it? Varen's jaw worked. He wanted to say yes. Everyone wanted him to say yes. But Varen had built his career on numbers, and the numbers were now standing over his throat. No, my emperor, he said at last. The word seemed to age him. Koresha's face did not change. Can we wound it? Varen looked at the hologram. Perhaps. And then? Varen did not answer. Marlowe answered for him. Then it drops its cloak field. Koresh turned to her. Marlowe said, "The Mercy is not the only ship in your system." The room changed. It was subtle at first. A few shoulders tightened. A few mouths opened. The fleet officer at the wall began tapping his console with shaking fingers. The hologram flickered. New contacts appeared. 1. Then 4. Then 12. Then 30. Then more. They were not as large as the Mercy. Some were cruisers. Some were carriers. Some were missile boats. Some were strange, angular ships the Val computers could not classify. They had been hidden along magnetic shadows, inside debris fields, behind moons, among civilian traffic, within the blind spots of imperial arrogance. Human ships. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. The officer whispered, "They are everywhere." The court's fear became something almost physical. Koresh slowly stood again. Marlowe did not smile. That was important. She did not enjoy this. She was not a conqueror tasting victory. She looked like someone showing a knife to a drunk man and begging him not to reach for another bottle. Koresh said, "You invaded my home system." "We entered it," Marlowe said. "With a fleet." "Yes." "Under cloak." "Yes." "While asking for peace." "Yes." Koresh's voice rose. "You are hypocrites." Marlowe shook her head. "We are survivors." The word moved through the room. Survivors. Not conquerors. Not saviors. Not angels. Survivors. Marlowe continued, "Our species grew up on a planet that tried to kill us in 1,000 ways. Storms. Disease. Famine. Cold. Heat. Predators. Then we tried to kill each other for centuries. We learned war too well. We learned peace too slowly. But we learned something your empire forgot." Koresh said, "And what is that?" "You do not get peace by pretending violence does not exist. You get peace by making violence unnecessary, costly, and shameful." A minister near the throne whispered, "Shameful?" Marlowe looked at him. "Yes. Shame matters. It is the little voice that says, 'I could do this, but I would hate myself afterward.'" The minister looked confused. Marlowe nodded toward the banners on the walls. "You removed that voice from your empire. You taught your people that mercy is weakness, obedience is honor, and fear is order. Then you wondered why every victory created a larger grave." The emperor's voice came sharp. "Enough." Marlowe stopped. The silence returned. Koresh descended from the throne again, but this time he did not approach her. He walked to the hologram and stood beneath the image of the Mercy. The giant ship hung above his world like a black moon. "What do you want from me in this room, human?" Marlowe said, "A ceasefire." "And after that?" Prisoners exchanged. Slave docks opened. Conquered worlds given protected referendums. Imperial fleets returned behind agreed borders. Independent observers on both sides. The court bristled. Koresh looked amused despite himself. "You think I will dismantle my empire because you parked a ship over my roof?" "No," Marlowe said. "I think you will consider survival because we parked a ship over your roof." He turned toward her. "And if I accept talks, what stops me from rebuilding, adapting, and crushing Earth later?" Marlowe's face was calm. "Us." The answer was simple. Too simple to dismiss. Koresh waited for more. Marlowe gave it. "We are not asking you to become harmless. We are asking you to become something your neighbors can live beside. There is a difference. A tame empire. A responsible state." The emperor laughed once. A bitter sound. "You dress surrender in soft clothes." "No. I am giving you the chance to call restraint wisdom before your enemies call it defeat." That reached him. Not his heart. Maybe he did not have one, not in the way humans meant it. But it reached his pride. Koresh understood the value of language. If he accepted talks now, he could claim strategy. He could say the hidden human fleet proved the need for study. He could claim he had chosen to protect the capital from unnecessary damage. He could survive the day. If he refused, the throne room might become a tomb before sunset. But there was another problem. The court. Every eye watched him. A tyrant could not appear afraid. Koresh needed blood. Not a war. A symbol. His gaze moved to Major Reyes. Your soldier threatened me. Marlowe's face hardened. Koresh said, in this room, such words demand answer. Reyes stepped forward. Then answer me. The doctor closed his eyes. Marlowe said, Major, no. Reyes did not look at her. With respect, Admiral, he needs a smaller choice before he can face the large one. Koresh tilted his head. The soldier understood politics. Interesting. Reyes placed his helmet on the floor. I challenged you. Not humanity. Not the Admiral. Me. Let the court see you answer without ships. Without fleets. Without shields. A murmur ran through the room. Koresh smiled. You offer single combat. I offer you a way to bleed without burning worlds. Marlowe's jaw tightened. Daniel. Reyes finally glanced at her. Ma'am, you taught us peace is worth risk. She looked at him for one long second. Then she stepped back. The doctor whispered, I hate soldiers. Reyes said softly, I know. Koresh removed his ceremonial silk and handed it to a servant. The court came alive. This they understood. A duel. Blood on glass. Honor through violence. The old language of power. The human admiral stood in the center of the room with pain in her throat and fear in her eyes. Not fear of the emperor. Fear for her soldier. That, too, was noticed. Koresh drew no weapon. He did not need one. Val nobles came from a predatory line. Their claws could cut armor seals. Their bones were dense. Their reflexes were fast enough to catch flying blades. Koresh had killed challengers with his hands before he took the throne. Major Reyes wore armor, but he removed the outer power pack and set it aside. Varen frowned. Why remove your advantage? Reyes flexed his hands. Because this is not an execution. Koresh's smile widened. No. It is not. The circle cleared. The throne room floor reflected the two figures. One tall and red, ancient and sharp. One human, broad and quiet, scarred across the knuckles, breathing slow. A court officer raised a silver rod. The rules were spoken in the imperial tongue. Fight until yield, loss of consciousness, or death. No outside weapons. No interference. The emperor's person sacred. The challenger's life forfeit if he dishonored the circle. Reyes listened to the translation in his ear. Then he nodded. Koresh did not bow. Reyes did. Only slightly. Again, respect. Not submission. The silver rod struck the floor. Koresh attacked first. He crossed the distance with terrifying speed. His claws flashed toward Reyes's throat. Reyes moved inside the strike. Not away. Inside. His left arm took the impact on armor plating. Sparks burst. His right hand drove into the emperor's ribs. The sound was heavy. Koresh did not fall. He smiled. Good. Then he struck Reyes in the chest. The human flew backward and slid across the glass floor. The court roared. Marlowe's hands clenched. Reyes rolled, coughed, and stood. Koresh came again. This time, slower. Testing. Reyes stayed low. The emperor's claws slashed. Reyes blocked one, slipped another, took a cut across his cheek, and answered with a short punch to the inside of Koresh's arm. The emperor's fingers twitched. A nerve strike. Some nobles stopped cheering. Reyes was not fighting like a berserker. He was fighting like a mechanic taking apart a machine. Koresh noticed. His next attack was brutal. A knee to the stomach. A claw across the shoulder. A backhand that split the human's lip and sent blood across the black floor. Reyes staggered. Koresh seized him by the armor and lifted him. "You are strong for a soft thing." Reyes spat blood onto the floor. "You talk a lot for an emperor." Then he slammed his forehead into Koresh's face. The crack echoed through the throne room. The court gasped. Koresh stepped back. A thin line of dark blood ran from his nose. For the first time in decades, the Emperor of Val had been struck in his own throne room by an enemy who was still alive. Reyes landed hard, but stayed on his feet. The silence returned. Koresh touched the blood. Looked at it. Then looked at Reyes. Rage filled his face. The next exchange was not a duel. It was a storm. Koresh attacked with full speed, full strength, and no interest in beauty. Reyes blocked what he could and suffered what he could not. Armor cracked. Skin opened. Blood marked the floor in red human drops and dark imperial streaks. Reyes was slower. Koresh was stronger. But humans had an old gift. They could be losing and still be learning. Reyes learned the Emperor's rhythm. The turn of his hips before a strike. The slight opening after a left claw. The breath before a killing rush. Koresh drove him down to one knee. The court shouted for the finish. Marlowe took one step forward. Dr. Vale caught her arm. Reyes looked up. Koresh raised his claw. Yield. Reyes breathed hard. No. Die, then. Koresh struck. Reyes moved. Not far. Just enough. The claw cut across his armor instead of his neck. Reyes trapped the Emperor's wrist, turned under it, and drove his elbow into the same nerve point he had hit before. Koresh's arm failed. Only for a second. 1 second was enough. Reyes stepped behind him, hooked one leg, and used the Emperor's own forward weight. Koresh fell. Not slipped. Not bowed. Fell. The sound of his body hitting the glass floor was the loudest thing anyone in that chamber had ever heard. The Emperor rolled instantly and rose to one knee, but Reyes was already there, one armored forearm across his throat, one hand gripping the disabled wrist. He did not crush. He did not break. He held. Koresh's eyes burned with murder. Reyes spoke softly, just for him. "I can keep going." The Emperor tried to rise. Reyes shifted pressure. Koresh stopped. The court stood frozen. No one knew what to do. Their Emperor was not dead. He was not defeated in the simple way. But he was held. By a human. In front of everyone. Reyes could have snapped the wrist. He could have crushed the throat. He could have made the symbol Koresh wanted. Instead, he waited. Koresh understood the trap. If he refused to yield, the human might disable him fully, perhaps kill him. If the guards interfered, the duel would be dishonored before the court, and the mercy above them might answer. If he yielded, he survived, but the room would remember. Reyes leaned closer. "Choose the big door." Koresh stared at him. Then, with a voice like broken stone, he said one word. "Yield." The throne room died again. Not physically. But something in it died. A belief. A spell. A shape of the world. Major Reyes released him at once and stepped back. He did not raise his fists. He did not celebrate. He bowed. Again, respect. Not submission. Koresh rose slowly. His face had become unreadable. Blood marked his mouth. One arm hung stiff at his side. His breathing was controlled, but heavy. The court waited for rage. For execution. For some command that would restore the old order. The Emperor looked at Admiral Marlowe. You planned this. Marlowe shook her head. No. I feared it. Yet you allowed it. I trusted him. Koresh looked at Reyes. Why did you not kill me? Reyes wiped blood from his lip. Because the Admiral came here to save lives. I am not innocent. No. I have killed billions. Yes. And still you spared me. Reyes looked at the banners, the priests, the nobles, the frightened ministers, the hologram of the battleship above the world. Then he said, killing you is easy. Changing what comes after you is hard. Humans have learned the hard thing matters more. Koresh was silent. For a moment, he looked very old. Not weak. Old. Like a creature that had spent centuries feeding a fire and only now smelled smoke in its own house. Before we move deeper into the fate of the throne, please like this video, subscribe for the next story, and share it wherever people enjoy science fiction with heart, steel, and a little human stubbornness. The Emperor returned to the obsidian throne, but he did not sit immediately. That small hesitation was enough to start whispers across the court. He heard them. Of course he did. Koresh had survived too long by missing such things. He turned to the chamber. Silence. The whispering stopped. He sat. This time, the throne did not seem as large. Or perhaps everyone had finally realized it had only ever been a chair. Koresh looked toward the fleet officer. Open a channel to the ship Mercy. The officer froze. My Emperor. Now. The officer obeyed. A moment later, the hologram shifted. The image of the battleship remained, but a second display appeared beside it. A human face. A woman, younger than Marlowe, with close-cropped hair and calm eyes. She sat in a command chair aboard the Mercy. Behind her, crew moved with sharp quiet purpose. This is Captain Aisha Okonkwo of the HNS Mercy, she said. We receive you, Val Prime. Koresh studied her. You have weapons aimed at my palace. Yes. Remove them. No. The court sucked in a breath. Captain Okonkwo did not blink. We will lower active firing priority when Admiral Marlowe confirms a ceasefire order has been issued and your orbital weapons stand down. Koresh's claws tapped once on the throne. You speak to an emperor. I am aware. And you refuse me. I follow lawful command. Koresh's gaze flicked toward Marlowe. This is your chain of obedience. Marlowe nodded. Something like it. Your captain can refuse an emperor. She can refuse anyone who is not in her command structure. Koresh looked back at Okonkwo. And if your admiral orders you to fire? Okonkwo's face remained calm. Then I confirm the legality of the order. The throne room did not understand that. Koresh did. Barely. You judge your superior. I uphold my oath. A strange expression passed over Koresh's face. It might have been disgust. It might have been envy. He cut the channel. The hologram returned to the view of the Mercy above the planet. Koresh spoke to Marlowe. Your people make command difficult. Yes. How do you win wars? Carefully. The doctor muttered, not always. Marlowe gave him a look. He shrugged. Koresh leaned back. You ask for a ceasefire. If I give it, my enemies will rise. Yes. You admit this. They will rise whether you give it or not. The only question is whether they rise against you, or whether they rise into a future you help shape. Varen stepped forward, anger overcoming caution. My Emperor, this is poison. She speaks rebellion into the room. Give me command. Let me rally the inner fleets. Even if we lose the capital shield, we can force the humans into a ground war. Their mercy will slow them. Their politics will divide them. Marlowe looked at Varen with sharp sadness. You still think mercy means hesitation? Varen laughed. It always does. Major Reyes, still bleeding, said, no. Mercy is what happens after we decide you no longer need to die. Varen's mouth closed. Dr. Vale opened his medical bag and approached Reyes. Reyes waved him off. Later. The doctor glared. You are leaking on a royal floor. Sit down. Reyes blinked. The whole throne room watched as the human doctor pointed at the bloodied soldier and then at the floor. Reyes hesitated. Dr. Vale said, that was not a suggestion. After a moment, Major Reyes sat. On the floor. In the throne room. In front of the Emperor. The doctor began sealing the cuts on his face and shoulder. No one knew whether this was disrespect or simply human behavior. Marlowe seemed used to it. Koresh stared. You allow your healer to command your warrior? Marlowe answered, when the warrior is being stupid, yes. Reyes muttered, I heard that. You were meant to, Marlowe said. Something passed through the room then. Not laughter. Not quite. But several ministers looked away to hide expressions they had not worn in years. The Emperor saw it. Humans were dangerous in ways that did not show on scanners. They changed the temperature of a room. They made servants remember they were people. They made soldiers think about who would patch their wounds. They made fear feel less holy. Koresh did not like it. But he understood it as a weapon. Maybe the oldest weapon of all. Belonging. A priest of the Star Wound stepped forward, robes whispering. My Emperor, these creatures corrupt order. Their presence itself is infection. Let the palace guard die if needed. Let the capital burn if needed. Better ash than surrender to chaos. Marlowe turned to him. How many of your own children are in shelters under this city? The priest stiffened. That is irrelevant. No, she said. It is the only thing that matters. The priest lifted one bone-masked hand toward her. You speak of children because your species fears sacrifice. Dr. Vale stood, anger flashing in his eyes. No. We speak of children because adults who spend children's lives to prove faith are cowards. The room exploded in outrage. Priests shouted. Guards moved. Major Reyes began to stand. Dr. Vale pushed him back down without looking. Stay. Reyes stayed. Koresh raised one hand. The room quieted, but not easily. The priest bowed toward the throne. My Emperor, command us. Koresh looked at the priest. For years, the Star Wound priesthood had blessed his wars. They had turned conquest into holy duty. They had told grieving mothers that lost children were sparks added to the Emperor's flame. They had taught the lower castes that pain was proof of purpose. Useful. Always useful. But now, with a human battleship over his world, usefulness had changed shape. Koresh asked, would you burn the capital to deny them? The priest answered at once. If your glory demanded it. A chill moved through the court. Koresh's eyes narrowed. My glory. The priest hesitated, sensing danger too late. The glory of the throne, eternal flame. Koresh looked around the room. He saw nobles suddenly very interested in the floor. Ministers pale with fear. Fleet officers calculating survival. Servants standing still near the walls. Representatives from conquered worlds watching like prisoners who had just heard the lock click. Then he looked at the hologram of the Mercy. A ship named for the thing his own priest would deny his people. The Emperor spoke quietly. Remove his mask. The priest froze. My Emperor. Koresh did not repeat himself. Two guards stepped forward. The priest backed away. No. This is sacred. This is the face of the Star Wound. The guards looked uncertain. Koresh's voice cut the air. Remove it. They obeyed. The bone mask came away. Beneath it was not a monster. Not a holy fire. Just an old Val face, thin and terrified. The court stared. Koresh said, there. The gods remained silent. The priest trembled. My Emperor, please. Koresh turned to the guards. Take him below. He may pray where his voice cannot reach frightened people. The guards dragged the priest away. That was the first crack. Not in the throne. In the Empire. Marlowe saw it. So did Koresh. He hated that she saw it. But he did not undo it. Fleet Lord Varen looked horrified. You would shame the star wound before humans. Koresh said, I would prevent fools from mistaking suicide for loyalty. Varen bowed stiffly, but his eyes burned. Marlowe spoke carefully. Emperor Koresh, issue the ceasefire. The court held its breath. Koresh looked toward the ceiling. Above it, beyond stone and shield and sky, the mercy waited. He could still choose war. He knew that. The old part of him wanted it. The part that had been raised in blood games. The part that had killed 2 brothers and 1 teacher to prove himself worthy. The part that had learned early that kindness invited knives. War was simple. War would preserve the story he understood. But it would also reveal that the story was all he had left. Koresh's arm ached where Reyes had struck the nerve. His throat remembered the human's hold. His palace remembered the darkness when the alarms began. For the first time in many years, Koresh measured not what he wanted, but what would remain. He turned to the fleet officer. Transmit to all Imperial forces. Cease offensive action against human-aligned territories. Defensive posture only. No fleet movements without throne authorization. All active weapons in Val Prime orbit to stand by. The fleet officer stared. Koresh's voice dropped. Did I become unclear? The officer snapped straight. No, my emperor. He sent the command. Across the system, orbital weapons lowered from active lock. Across distant fronts, Imperial admirals received orders they read twice, then 3 times. Across conquered worlds, secret listeners caught fragments and began waking neighbors. In the throne room, the hologram of the Mercy changed. Its weapon markers softened from red to amber. Captain Okonkwo's voice came through the open channel. Human fleet acknowledges Imperial standby. Maintaining defensive watch. Koresh gave a bitter smile. Your captain is generous. Marlowe said, she is cautious. Same thing, for humans. Sometimes. The Emperor looked at the Admiral for a long moment. Now what? Marlowe breathed slowly, pain still in her throat. Now we talk. He laughed once. No joy in it. Your species truly is cruel. Why? You make war sound easier. Marlowe's expression softened. It often is. The first hour of talks was ugly. That surprised no one. Imperial ministers argued over every word. Human diplomatic assistants connected remotely from the Lantern and Mercy, adding clauses, limits, definitions, and verification steps. Koresh objected to the phrase enslaved populations. Marlowe refused to remove it. Varen demanded that all captured Imperial ships be returned at once. Marlowe said ships used in attacks would be held until inspections were completed. A minister tried to define slave labor as inherited service. Dr. Vale asked whether inherited service allowed children to leave. The minister had no answer that sounded good in a room now listening differently. Major Reyes sat on the floor for the first part, because Dr. Vale refused to let him stand until the sealant dried. This became, somehow, one of the most disturbing images of the day. The human who had forced the Emperor to yield sat calmly near the negotiation circle while a doctor scolded him for reopening a wound. The court did not know what to do with that. Neither did the cameras. By the second hour, word had spread across the capital. The human battleship above the sky was visible from several provinces. Citizens gathered in plazas and on rooftops, staring upward. Official channels called it a diplomatic security vessel. Nobody believed that. Private channels showed the duel, leaked from a servant's hidden recorder. The clip of the Emperor falling lasted 6 seconds. It crossed the capital in 12 minutes. By the third hour, 3 conquered embassies inside the palace requested direct human witness protection. By the fourth hour, 5 Imperial admirals sent private messages confirming they would follow the ceasefire but asking whether prisoner exchanges would include lower-deck crews. By the 5th hour, the first slave dock riot began on the moon of Iraq. Not because humans ordered it. Because hope is a spark that does not ask permission. Koresh received the report during a dispute over border maps. His face hardened. Varen seized the chance. My Emperor, this is the result. Disorder already. Give me permission to restore control. Marlowe's eyes closed briefly. She knew people were about to die somewhere far away. Koresh looked at the map. Then at Varen. What is the status of the dock security force? Still loyal. Casualties? Minimal so far. Demands? Varen's lip curled. Release of workers. Arrest of dockmasters. Human observers. The room waited. Koresh said, order security forces to stand down from lethal action. Dockmasters are to be detained pending review. No executions. Varen stared. My Emperor. No executions. The order went out. On Iraq, 2,000 workers who had expected machine gun fire instead saw the guards lower their weapons. No one knew what to do next. So they cried. Some laughed. Some ran. Some simply sat down because their legs could no longer hold the weight of sudden possibility. In the throne room, Marlowe watched Koresh carefully. You understand what that means? Koresh said, it means I have delayed one fire. It means others will start. I know. And still? His eyes met hers. You wanted change. Did you think it would be clean? No. Good, he said. Do not pretend to be innocent of the chaos you invite. Marlowe nodded. I am not innocent. I am responsible. That answer followed him into silence. Responsible. Another human word that seemed simple until it cut. As the story moves from threat to consequence, please like the video, subscribe for more original HFY narration, and share it with someone who enjoys stories where the biggest battle is not always the one fought with guns. By the 6th hour, the throne room was no longer a stage. It had become a command center. Tables were brought in. Holograms multiplied. Imperial scribes stood beside human legal officers on remote displays. Translators worked until their voices cracked. Servants brought water and food, unsure whether they were serving guests, enemies, or witnesses to history. Marlowe accepted a cup of water from a young Val servant. The servant's hands shook. Marlowe said quietly, "Thank you." The servant stared at her. Not because the words were unknown. Because in that room, people above a certain rank rarely used them. The servant bowed too low and hurried away. Koresh saw it. Of course he saw it. His eyes missed little. You weaken servants with softness, he said. Marlowe took a sip. No. I remind them they are seen. Dangerous. Yes. The Emperor almost smiled. You admit that too. Humans admit many things. It saves time. Major Reyes, now standing again despite Dr. Vale's disapproval, moved closer to one of the side windows. From there, he could see the capital city and, beyond the storm clouds, a faint dark shape in the sky where the Mercy blocked the stars. A young Imperial guard watched him. The guard was barely adult by Val standards, though taller than Reyes. His armor was polished, but his grip on his rifle was poor. He kept looking at the human soldier, then away. Reyes noticed. You have a question. The guard stiffened. No. Reyes looked back out the window. All right. A minute passed. The guard said, Did you truly capture the Iron Choir? Reyes glanced at him. That was your second fleet? Yes. Then yes. My brother served on the carrier Ash Crown. Reyes's face shifted. Not much. Enough. Name. The guard hesitated. Tarav, son of Mal. Reyes turned to Dr. Vale. Samir. The doctor, who had been arguing with a minister about medical access, looked over. What? Iron Choir, Carrier Ash Crown, crewman Terev, son of Mal. Dr. Vale's expression softened. He survived. Broken leg, lung burn, bad attitude. He kept asking for his brother. The young guard went still. My brother is alive. Yes, Dr. Vale said. Last I saw, he was insulting our soup and trying not to cry during a message recording. The guard's weapon lowered a few centimeters. Reyes said, he wanted you to know he did not surrender his post. The reactor was gone. His captain ordered evacuation.